Good morning. Good morning. There is a delay with this. This is a very interesting thing for me. This is the first time that I have used Zoom. Okay, now I'm watching myself. Okay, so I'm using Zoom, and there's about a 20-second delay, and I can see what's going on. So I didn't realize that I was drinking my water. I didn't realize any of this, anyways. So it's totally throwing me off. So I don't even want to look at the screen. Um, I'm just not going to look at the screen. So here we go. Today, I am Jen Sugermeyer. I am totally thrown off by trying this new technology for me. I usually live stream right through YouTube, but this time I'm trying it through Zoom and I'm learning as we go. So, is what it is. This is Mindset in the Morning, brought to you by Higher and Heels, where we come here live every single day, usually using the YouTube app, not the Zoom app. And we talk about things to get you ready for your day so that you go out and you are intentional and you show up the way you want to show up, so that you are setting your goals and achieving them and feeling good about life. And mindset is everything. It is. And you are in the mindset or you're not. And yeah, maybe they are goals that you're like, well, I'm not into that goal. It doesn't mean that you don't have the mindset. It just means that you're not into that goal at the moment. And so it is all about how we position our mind. So if you're not into that goal, you're not into that goal. But if you are, how do we start to wrap our mind around and start to focus our time and our attention and our energy into accomplishing whatever you want to accomplish? And so this week we've been talking about energy, which is so important because energy is everything. It's life. It's it's really, that's the definition of a calorie, is energy. And so whether we're talking about fueling our body, and it could come down to how much sleep are you getting, or what are the foods that you're putting in your body, or who are the people that you surround yourself with, or the places, the people, places, things, ideologies, all of these things, they all play a part of the ecosystem of your life. So that being said, we're going to talk today about, are you actually the one that's negative? Or is it just the group of people around you? So we're going to talk about 8 ways to know, are you the one that's actually negative, or is it the people that are around you, not so much you? So here are some warning signs, because the first thing is awareness, and this isn't to call you out, to call anyone out. The truth is, we need to have the awareness. If we don't have the awareness that we are in a certain state, then how do we change it? And I'll be honest, I was negative. I carried a lot of negativity for a long time, and I didn't acknowledge that I had that. And um so it took me becoming more positive. I made that decision. I could tell you it was on May 13th, 2018, and I said, "Okay, I need to figure out what's going on with me. Why don't I love me? Why does my life seem so bad? Why do I just feel like I'm going through the motions?" And I made that decision on that day to get into my mind, to start to understand what was going on with me. And I hadn't taken a step back to look at my life. And so we have to, it might seem uncomfortable, or it might seem weird, or it might seem, because you haven't done it before, but really thinking about yourself, almost like an out of body experience. Like, how is Jen Sugarmeyer doing? And really taking a step back and looking at our life and saying, okay, what is going on? Um, and so that's where we need to start. We need to have that awareness. So it's not calling anybody out. Like, this isn't a bad thing. This is us getting real with ourselves. And the only way to make changes is to become aware. So this is us becoming aware. So, not pointing fingers, we're just throwing things out there, food for thought. So are you actually the negative one? I don't know. Let's see. All right. So we're going to go through 8 things. Do you worry? So worrying. that is a sign that you have negativity inside of you. Um and it's really easy for us to worry. I think most of us worry about some things. And that doesn't mean if you are a completely positive person that you may never have worry creep up into your life. Nobody's leading this totally perfect life. There are always things that are going to creep up and that are going to make us angry, mad, sad, whatever. But we have to have that awareness that, hey, it just creeped up. And then how do we modify and change it? But worrying, I mean, okay, so what do we worry about? I don't know. I think people that have a lot of negativity, I mean, it is easy to worry about when you turn on the news and you see things that are happening, especially, with COVID or the elections. I'm just thinking of 2020 and some of the major things that happen. And we start to worry and speculate and all the things. Well, but they are out of our control. But we watch the news and it's like, oh my gosh. Or we worry about, our kids going to get a good education. We worry about what are we going to have for dinner. We worry about the plans for the weekend. We worry about if someone's going to come through with whatever they committed. We worry about how we're doing at our job. We just worry, 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 worry. But this is a very negative emotion. So when you find yourself worrying, I talk about a friend of mine who told me one time that she had to be anxious in order to, because her kids, she had kids and she wanted to make sure that her kids go to college. I mean, that's what a commendable thing, mom. I appreciate that you are so committed to your kids' future and their education. And she said, Jen, I have to worry. I have to be anxious. I have to worry because I want my kids to go to college. And I'm like, that's great. But does that behavior, does worrying and being in anxiety, does that equal results, or does results equal results? I mean, is there another way to accomplish the outcome? Can you be happy and get your kids to college? Or do you have to worry? Do you have to be anxious in order for them to go to college? So we started going through some of these discussions, and it turns out you actually can be happy and your kids can go to college. So you can get the best of both worlds. In fact, when you are in a better state, as we've talked about on the show, you are in more flow. You're just in better flow of your life. And so you're producing better results and you have more clarity, so you're able to maybe even make more money if you're in certain industries. I mean, if you're on commission and whatnot, and this woman was on commission. And so so are you able to put that positive energy where people want to be around you and buy from you, and you have clarity and you're happy, and it's just a whole different level than this negativity that you're holding with you. So pay attention to if you are worrying, because worrying is one of the signs that you are negative. Are you pessimistic? Hmm. Is that glass half empty or is it half full? Or, as my friend Dean says, I'm just happy that there's water in my glass, and that's how it is. God bless. So, if you find that you're just really pessimistic, like it could be a beautiful day outside, it could be blue skies, perfect weather. You could be living in San Diego where the weather's like perfect every single day, and you're like, wah, wah, wah. It could be better. So, are you taking a pessimistic look? So, again, take that out of body experience, and look at your life and say, how is it that I view these things? And dissect some of these as they come up, these thoughts, these situations, and say, okay, let me look at the situation. And if you're not sure, ask a trusted advisor, ask a close friend that you believe to be positive. Don't ask another negative person, because they're not going to be able to see it. But if you see somebody in your life and you say, man, they are so positive and I trust their opinion, and we have to be vulnerable to have these conversations like, hey, do you think I'm actually negative? Like, how do you, this is my perspective on the situation. Is that how you would see this? would you have a different opinion? And just maybe start to understand how that would look like, and from their perspective, and they'll be able to tell you, yeah, it's kind of, you're kind of a pessimist, or maybe you could just outright ask them. If they know you well enough, then they might be able to identify that, yeah, you're kind of a pessimist. But ask someone that you believe is positive, and that, maybe somebody you look up to, you know but if you are a pessimist, then yes, you are negative. You are carrying around that negative energy. Are you complaining? I mean, hello. If you are complaining, then yes, that is a sign that you are negative. If it's like, oh, I don't know, these cookies are just not soft enough. These cookies are too hard. Oh yeah, my food could be a little warmer. Oh, this and I'm look, I'm not here to say that if the restaurant brings out your steak and it's cold, that just accept it. That's not what I'm here to say. There is a certain level, because I find myself doing this, especially with customer service, because if I get poor customer service, I'm like to me, that is the worst. Poor customer service is just not. It's not. I'm like, oh, come on, guys, you could do better. Like, you're getting paid to do this. But there are some things that I'm just like, that's no big deal. But if it's in my apartment, and like I had ants in my apartment and I had no reasons for me to have ants, but I have plumbing that's under my apartment, and the ants came up through, and it took them 2 weeks. And so I had bites all over my feet and legs before I realized that I had ants in my apartment, and I'm allergic to these suckers. So I had these welts all over me. But it's one thing for me. And so as soon as I identified them, I'm like trying to kill them, but they just keep coming in my apartment, keep coming in, keep coming in. Well, it's one thing for me to avoid them, but I have a cat, and my cat either ate one or got bit by one, and her eyes were all goopy and everything. So I'm just going into this level of detail because even though I would say that I'm, a pretty positive person, we all have work that we can do. But I like to see the glass as half full. I like to think that I'm very optimistic about things. But I'm sorry, I will complain if there is something of that nature. And come on, guys, we can do better. This is my health. This is the health of my cat. Her eyes were just so goopy for like 2 weeks, and then finally they came out and got an exterminator. But I'm like, 2 weeks, you guys can do better. So there, I am not saying don't ever complain, or that if you are, holding your vendor to the standards, to their service level agreements that they agreed to, that you're complaining. No, there's a certain thing that we have rights to. Like, we have the right to happiness and health and all these things. And in my apartment, I'm sorry, but it's not like I have food just sitting around and I attracted all these ants and oops, shouldn't have ate candy and just left it all over the floor. That it had nothing to do with me. And so anyway, I just go into that because I don't want us to get confused with, well, am I actually complaining if I say something? No, you need to stand up for yourself, because if you don't stand up for yourself, nobody else is going to stand up for you. So there's a difference. There's sort of like a fine line there. But are you just complaining to complaining? Are you complaining about like cookies, or are you complaining about ants in your apartment after you've put in multiple tickets and it's been 2 weeks? Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. So again, find that trusted advisor and say, hey, like, am I kind of negative? Like, how have somebody just give you their opinion. And again, opinions don't matter. It's up to you if you want to take that opinion. So you got to find somebody that you trust, find somebody that you respect, and ask them. Don't ask another person that, like, you guys just get together and complain together. Hey, should I be complaining? Because they're going to tell you yes. And you don't want to hear what you want to hear. You want to hear the truth. So find somebody that's going to truth bust you and let you know. All right. Are you criticizing things? Are you criticizing? So complaining is, I have a complaint about anything. I mean, I'm complaining that the shirt isn't red enough. Or are you criticizing? So very close, very close. But if you're criticizing things, um, I'm thinking about something that you watched on TV, or it's almost like I think of America's Got Talent or one of those voice shows, and you're the panel, you're the Simon Cowells. Did they hire you to be the panel? Or the critics that are sitting up there. So if you are criticizing, if you are that panel of judges, then yes, you may have that negativity inside of you. Clutter. Okay, y'all. This is a big one, and we could do a whole show just about clutter. Do you have clutter? Let's talk about physical clutter because there's like emotional clutter. I mean, there's all different types of clutter. Do you have physical clutter in your space? And when we have a lot of things, believe it or not, that impacts our energy. And so if you find that you've just got a ton of clutter in your life, just take a look at that and see if it's impacting your energy. Is that causing you undue stress? I think of a counter that just has a ton of things. And yeah, it can be a little overwhelming. Do you clean around everything? Do you take everything off and then clean it? What if you just had maybe two items on your counter? How much easier would it be to clean? How much easier would it be to maintain? You know, it's like when you move out of some place and you realize how dirty you were because you just didn't clean at the level that you thought you were being clean, because there's just so many nooks and crannies and all that, and we all want to have a really clean place. It makes us feel good. It allows energy to flow. But when you have all this crap and clutter that's on your counter, yeah, it's harder to get to. And so sometimes we're like, you know what, I don't want to take all that stuff off. I'm just going to kind of cut corners and clean around all of the clutter. And so what happens when you move and you take all the stuff off the counter? You're like, oh my gosh, I wasn't as clean as I thought. So there is something about having an excess of things in your life. So just pay attention. Do you have a ton of stuff? Because that will also tell you about your energy. I'm not making this stuff up. Okay, you blame others. Yeah, that's a sign that you're negative. If it's always everybody else's fault, go back. We talked about accountability here, oh, I don't know, a month or so ago, and go look at those. But we want to take accountability of the things in our space, even if it wasn't our fault, doesn't matter. Take accountability. If you are blame, oh, it's his fault, it's her fault. Oh, yeah, it's their fault. They did it. Yeah, I'm the victim. That's actually what you're telling yourself when you blame everybody else, is that you're the victim in this. Their fault, their fault, their fault. I'm not to blame. So if you are blaming other people, just check yourself. You might have that negative energy and you don't realize it. And on blame, we want to be taking accountability. So go back and watch the videos on why we need to. If we want to be in our most powerful state every single day, we're not here to put feelings and emotions into all of this. It's not like, oh, well, I feel like, I'm going to feel badly if I take ownership. Just take ownership and move on. Doesn't mean anything unless you make it mean something. So just take accountability for the situation and move on. Come up with a different solution, come up with a game plan and move on. We don't need to get stuck in the past. And when we're blaming and all this, we can get stuck in the past and we want to just move forward. There's nothing you can do about changing the past. So blame, let's remove blame, start taking accountability, but let that be one of your mile markers to know if you are in fact negative or not. Okay. Do your friends seem negative? Your friends are going to tell you a lot about you, which is why when you go have some of these conversations to ask them, you need to be careful who you talk to. If you think you're negative, yeah, and your friends are negative, yeah, you're going to see eye to eye. But there's a good chance that if you have negative friends, that you're probably negative too. Because the 5 people that are closest to you, those are the ones that are going to tell you the most about you. So look at your friends. If you can't see it in yourself, maybe you can see it a little bit easier in somebody else. It's really hard for us to, I don't know, for us to look at ourselves and pick apart and identify things because we're just so into us. So sometimes it's easier for us to identify it in others. So look at your friends. Are they negative? If they are, there's a good chance that you are too. And lastly, are you existing or are you living? If you're just going through the motions of life, then you're probably negative. If you are living, if you are out there and enjoying life's moments, living life doesn't mean that you're out gallivanting and traveling the world and doing all these crazy things. It means that you are living in the moment. It means that you are present. It means that you are having a good time versus like, I have to get up, I have to go to my job, and then I'm going to come home, eat dinner, watch TV, and then get up and do the same thing again. That's existing. Living is like, I get to get up, I get to go to work, I get to experience my coworkers, I get to have dinner, then I get to watch TV, and then I get to go to sleep. And I'm so grateful for everything in my life. Two totally different situations, the exact same thing, but two different perspectives is what I should say. So, those are 8 ways that you can figure out, hey, am I actually negative or not? So have that conversation, be real with yourself. Find a trusted advisor, find somebody that you think is really positive, that you feel comfortable with talking to, because I know it can feel a little bit like a little uncomfortable sometimes to have these conversations. But that's the only way that we're going to learn is to get real with ourselves. So have that out of body experience, go find somebody that you trust and go have them. But look at these 8 signs to say, hey, am I actually negative? Do you worry? Are you pessimistic? Do you criticize? Do you complain? Do you have clutter? Do you blame others? Are your friends negative? And are you just existing in this life or are you living it? Those are the 8 things. So I would love if you would like, if you would subscribe, and if you would share this with your friends. We are here live 5 days a week at 6 a.m. Central Standard Time. So with that, we will see you here tomorrow. And hey, if you have any feedback, go to higherintheels.com and you can contact me there. So just let me know what you think. All right. We'll see you tomorrow.